Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Stacy Bridges, and I will be explaining the discussion forum policy for RES 811. So some general information on our modules. They begin on Thursday and they end on Wednesday of each week. The due dates are according to Arizona time, and there's a clock feature at the bottom of all LoudCloud windows in order to help you know what time it is in Arizona. Our weekly discussion forum work includes both discussion question responses and participation posts. I'll go over each separately. Some general discussion forum tips. First, I recommend using Microsoft Word to create and edit your posts prior to posting them in the forum. And if you don't have access to Word, you can ask your counselor about how to get it through GCU. The reason I ask you to do this is because if you are in the discussion forum for too long, posting a response, what can happen is LoudCloud will log out on you, but you won't know it. And this will cause your post to disappear, and it causes a lot of frustration for students. So please create your responses in Word and then copy and paste them into the forum. I also recommend using Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox as your internet browser, and please do not use Internet Explorer or Safari, as these are not compatible with LoudCloud. Attachments in the discussion forum cannot be graded. Please do not change the subject line of any of your posts. This allows students to more easily find the instructor post and identify the threads of our discussion. And LoudCloud will not allow double spacing or hanging indentation in the discussion forum, so please don't worry about trying to attempt that. All students should include a signature line on their profile. This website will walk you through that process. And if you have questions about your grade, please first check the comments in the gradebook. So let's talk about discussion question responses. Each week, you're going to respond to both discussion questions in our discussion forum for that module. The first discussion question is due before Saturday at midnight, and the second discussion question is due before Monday at midnight. And note there are two reply buttons in LoudCloud. The one below the discussion question will result in a discussion question response. And you'll see a picture of that there on the screen. Incorrectly posted responses cannot be graded. So when you post your response, you'll have a few options. You can post the reply, you can save it as a draft, or you can cancel. And you only have 24 hours if you save it as a draft. Once you actually post the reply, you only have limited options for editing or deleting the post. You can't delete or edit the post if your post has been graded by the instructor. Please do not attempt to resubmit after your work has been graded. If a student or instructor has viewed or replied to your post, or if the post was made over 24 hours prior, LoudCloud will not give you that option. More information about this can be found on the link below. So let's talk about the requirements for our discussion question responses. They must be between 150 to 250 words on the academic topic. So responses about 300 words about how you love butterflies would not be considered an academic topic in this class because it's not covered in any of our discussion questions. So when we say that it requires academic support, this means you need to provide evidence to support your answers from a peer-reviewed empirical research article or the course textbook. Empirical articles that are provided in the course material can be used, or you can choose to find an outside source, but it must be an empirical research article. Be sure that you use in-text citations to mark what ideas are being referenced and provide a corresponding reference. And citations and references should follow APA guidelines. This is the requirement of our program. As I mentioned before, LoudCloud won't allow double spacing or hanging indentation, so these guidelines can be omitted for the discussion forum. Please limit or eliminate the use of direct quotations in your answer. At the doctoral level, students are expected to be able to paraphrase ideas in their own words. If a note appears at the end of a discussion question, as it does in week 1, you'll see it says this response does not require research support, then no support is required. If you're not sure about the difference between quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing, you can view this tutorial. If you've downloaded my PowerPoint presentation, you can view it here, or you can use the link below to access it. Let me tell you how I grade discussion responses each week. Assuming the discussion question has been answered fully, it includes academic support, and it follows APA guidelines, full credit will be awarded. The deductions fall into the following categories. If it doesn't meet the 150 to 250 word requirement, there will be a deduction. If it's not supported by an empirical research article or the textbook, your discussion question will be docked points. If your discussion question response is late, if there are major or minor APA errors, and I'll go over each of these on the corresponding slides. So, DQ responses are worth 6 points each. You have 2 of them per week. So if it doesn't meet the 150 word requirement, there's a 3-point deduction. If it's not supported by an empirical research article or the textbook, there's a 3-point deduction. If the post is late, half a point will be deducted per day that the DQ is late. If there's major APA errors, it's a 1-point deduction. And if there are minor APA errors, it starts with 0.1 in Module 1 and it increases each week, as you can see on the screen. So let's talk about what major APA errors include. These are 1-point deductions. If your in-text citations do not match your references, if direct quotes are not correctly marked, and if credit is given to the wrong author. These are some examples of major APA errors. These are the most common. Some minor APA errors each week. And again, these start at a deduction of 0.1 in week 1 and 0.2 in week 2, and they increase all the way up to 0.8 point deduction in Module 8. So if the textbook's reference is incorrect, and there's more information in the discussion forum about how to correctly reference your textbook. If your article references don't meet the APA guidelines, there's an example of what one would look like here. More information can be found in the Basics of APA tutorial available online or in the APA publication manual. There's lots of resources like the OWL at Purdue or other online sources that can go over APA style guidelines with you. Finally, another minor error that's common is if in-text citations don't meet APA standards. I find Table 6.1 of the APA publication manual very useful, and it goes over the type of citation, if it has 1 author, 2 authors, multiple authors, what an in-text citation looks like, or if you're using the parenthetical form. It also shows you how to use et al. Properly when you're using authors by 3 or works by 3 or more authors. So now let's talk about participation responses. Any post that is not your DQ response is eligible for participation credit. And this includes responses to a peer's DQ response or any number of posts that I provide in the forum. Participation can be in either DQ for the forum for that module. Some of my posts may be labeled as participation opportunity, class discussion, writing development, and any student can respond to any of those posts. The requirements for participation posts are that you have 3 substantive participation posts per week, that you have 3 days of participation posting during the module week, and participation responses made after the module closes on Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. will not count towards participation. So once the module closes, no more participation will be awarded for that module, and that's because our discussions are time sensitive. So let's go over what is a substantive post. So first, it must meet the 150 to 250 word minimum for the academic topic or discussion. So It also needs to be correctly spell checked and grammar checked using standard English. Participation posts, they need a citation and a reference, but they don't have to be a scholarly source. You can cite websites, books, videos. Any kind of support is appropriate for a participation post. You can use your textbook, but you don't have to. You can use an empirical research article or a newspaper article. Any type of source, as long as you're using a citation and a reference that are correctly formatted, you're good. And if a post has been marked substantive, you'll see this icon, this green trophy, and that'll appear in the discussion forum. Now, this is not automatic. I actually have to grade it and mark it as substantive. And depending on my schedule, I mark participation posts daily as substantive, and I try to publish grades for those earning full participation credit for the week every day. Otherwise, participation grading is finalized on Thursday after a module closes. So let's talk about scholarly versus popular sources, otherwise known as academic or non-academic sources. So being able to evaluate sources is a goal of this course. I've given you 2 resources here on evaluating resources. The first is from the GCU library, and the second is an online source. And remember, DQ responses must have academic support. They must be supported by at least your textbook or an empirical research article. And as I've said, participation posts need support, but it can be academic or non-academic source. And just so that you know, the expectation for support may increase in your next course. If you have questions about your grade, if you have questions about a DQ response or participation grade, please first review the comments in the gradebook. I try to let you know why any deduction has been made. If the deduction is due to an APA formatting error, please attempt to figure out the error. This will give you more experience trying to apply those APA rules, and it will just help you get better the more you practice at it. Now, occasionally I do make errors, so if you've gone over this and you really just can't figure out why there was a deduction, then please go ahead and contact me through the private forum and let me know which DQ or participation week that you have a question about. If you have a question about a discussion question response, it's often helpful if you'll just copy and paste that into the private forum message so I can see exactly what you're talking about. Well, I hope that answers all the questions you have about the weekly forum work. Thank you so much for your time.